Welcome on in, everyone, to the LCS Academy powered by Verizon. I'm Mazel, joined by Joshi. And for the first time of the split, and for the last broadcast for me, I'm with Rafa. I'm so excited to be here with you, and excited to kick off day 2 of the final week of regular season here in Academy. Do you have any thoughts coming into this day, especially looking forward to some of the competition? Joshi first?
I mean, I'm expecting that all of our seeds, all of our relevant standings will probably end up being decided based on the games today. And so this is kind of our last preview of a lot of these players before they actually have a chance to go to Proving Grounds.
Exactly that. What about you, Rafa? You got anything?
I am just liking the fact that we are all matching today. We've all got a shade of blue going on, and that is the dream team. That is the power of this broadcast that we'll be bringing to you.
It's been put together. Everybody's ready to go. But speaking of ready to go, yesterday had some pop-off plays, man. Dirty Harry and the double kill support Busio. We had them popping off in their respective games yesterday, and we'll get to look through some of those clips and see some of those pop-off plays here, Joshi.
Yeah, I mean, we saw so much good stuff coming out from Harry, right? We always knew he was going to be a good laner, but his ability to play during the team fights yesterday kind of set himself apart, right? Last time I remember checking, he had 8 kills and 1 death, right? And we see right now even more than that. He just creates so much space on the Swain. It's probably the best game we've seen from Harry thus far, and this was one of those games that was just absolute dominance from Team Liquid, right? Ending in less than 25 minutes. If they had both games like this, they would have gotten in and out in under an hour.
But that first game though was kind of
that was a little different.
But then you got Busio over here, no big deal, right? Like just picking up some crazy kills, as well as this Lulu play. The reason why the double kill support comes into play here, actually kind of crazy, Rafa.
Busio is being hyped up for a reason. Like this,
yeah.
I'm gonna try to do my best Cubby impression. This kid is insane. Like,
actually spot on. Oh my god.
That's all I got. And for the rest of Golden Guardians that game, playing against Busio, that's tough.
Yeah, that's tough. Speaking of tough, we gotta look at these standings because, as you said, Joshi, foreshadowing to it a little bit, because we have some crazy things that can possibly happen if we see a continuation of wins for 100 Thieves Academy, Cloud9 Academy, but it's pretty much put up or shut up if they want to catch up with Team Liquid Honda.
Exactly. We already know that Team Liquid, 100 Thieves, and Cloud9 are guaranteed a spot in the top 6, not going to be having to play in the play-in. But the 4-game difference between Team Liquid and 100 Thieves and Cloud9 allows them to kind of have a bit more of a buffer, right? They only need to win 1 game between now and the end of the season to cement themselves as the #1 seed. But of course, you want to have momentum going in. So I don't think they're going to take it less seriously if they end up picking up a game, but it does allow them a little bit of wiggle room to maybe try some more exciting things like the Seriaso that we saw some results from yesterday.
Some results. I like the point out there. But Rafa, we got to talk about the battle for 6th at this point, because
in
I
the
think
middle pack.
It's going to be a fun fight.
It is so tight in this race for the last playoff spot, or I guess like the top 6 spot that guarantees you past the play-in stage for Proving Grounds. For Evil Geniuses, they have to win every single game starting in today's match against TSM Academy. And then tomorrow, I think they play against Cloud9 Academy. And the caveat for Evil Geniuses, they not only have to win every single game, they have to pray. They have to ensure that FlyQuest Academy do not win a single game. That is their main win condition. And so for Evil Geniuses Academy, I mean, I don't want to be a doubter and say that the miracle cannot happen, but I think for Evil Geniuses Academy,
it's unlikely.
Yeah, it's unlikely, and the focus should just be, how do we prepare for the play-in stage? How do we prepare for Proving Grounds? What can we do to limit test and, you know, just continue pushing ourselves as best as we can?
But on the flip side of that, right, we're looking at FlyQuest. That means that FlyQuest, they just need to win 1 game, and they knock out Evil Geniuses. They win 2 games, and they prevent Immortals from ever catching them. So it's definitely a good spot for any FlyQuest fans, right? They are poised to take this top 6 spot, lock themselves into this place where they don't have to play that extra play-in game. And based on what we've seen, you know, FlyQuest has had a bit of a tumultuous second half of the season, but so has Immortals, who are going to be their first opponent today.
That's who I got to talk about a little bit here is Immortals Progressive, because it's been such an interesting journey for these guys. When I felt like they were starting out so hot and hitting this this streak here where it feels like they've lost a little bit of that focus, a little bit of that identity. But then when you look at the post-game interviews, you still see some of that positive light, the reason why some of the brains are in the works for Immortals Progressive. But it's really hard to see, you know, how they kind of lock in that top 6 spot here, Joshi.
Yeah, and the big thing for me is, right, they had that 0-10 run in the middle of the split. Part of that's forgivable, right? They were playing our 1st through 4th places in the standings, right?
Yeah.
You should be expecting those teams to generally win, but one of the big things that we always look at is who can they turn things around against. They got a couple of wins off of Golden Guardians when Leader had just joined, but is that enough? Are they going to be able to bounce back from where they were at before? They went 1-1 against TSM yesterday, right? And so, like, that is a spot where you have to hope that they still have the confidence that the good vibes and power of friendship are still going to carry them through.
That power of friendship, man.
I want to jump in at the end of that point. Can we just talk about the fact that TSM Academy and Golden Guardians, since they already know they're not guaranteed top 6 and they're already going to the play-in stage, they have become a very terrifying opponent. As of recent, they took a game off of 100 Thieves Academy. TSM Academy now taking games off of, you know, top 6 hopefuls, because the top 6 hopefuls are playing for something to get through the play-in stage, whereas TSM and Golden Guardians, they know, I mean, like,
You're gonna have fun.
yeah, just
exactly.
play whatever, you know, pull out whatever strats you want to just continue to innovate with. And I think shoutouts to Prismal as well. He has been performing really well as of recent. And this is still a marksman that recently swapped to support in this first split.
Yeah, true. That's very true. I also love seeing, you know, talk about that TSM Academy squad, Soul coming back down and kind of flexes his muscles yesterday. I always appreciate that. But speaking of coming into Academy, gotta pull out the welcome mat a little bit here, because Gamsu, Chef Gamsu is back, and Perry will be getting his first shot as we welcome them to Dignitas Academy here, Joshi.
Now, I'm going to be real. I thought Gamsu probably should have played another split in Academy again. So I think he's going to look pretty decent now that he's come back down to Academy. The question is going to be, can he prove that he deserves to go back up to the next level? But the player that we got on our screen, Perry, this is one of the players. He is so intelligent about the game. If you watch his stream, he will constantly go back. He will practice these jungle clears. He will review all the different parts in the game where he felt like he could play better. But the one thing that might hold him back, and the thing that we're going to be looking at on the other stream, because this is on the Academy stream, not past LCS, is how well is he going to be able to stand up mechanically. He's very intelligent, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can do all the things your hands want you to.
Yeah, exactly. And we get to see a little bit of Gamsu's last iterations of Sigurd Academy in spring, and especially I've actually appreciated seeing him in the LCS, even if some of the performances haven't been exactly up to par.
I mean, you solo killed Huni.
Hey, that's a check on the bucket list there, I feel like. But yeah, as you were saying earlier, though, that will be on Stream A, twitch.tv/academy, which means we're gonna look at the schedules here now and take a look at all the games that we have in store here for this penultimate day of the regular season here in Academy. We got 100 Thieves Academy versus Dignitas Academy in that first matchup. That was going to be a banger. Then you have CLG Academy versus Golden Guardians Academy. And finally, Team Liquid Honda Academy versus Cloud9 Academy. A lot of crazy matchups there on the first stream. Then on twitch.tv/PatLCS, where you're already at, so hopefully you're in the right place. We got Immortals Progressive Academy versus FlyQuest Academy, and then Evil Geniuses Academy taking on TSM Academy. So some fun ones on our side of the rift as well, gentlemen. And Rafa, you have something to say?
Don't worry, Mazel. I knew where your brain was going. You had the dot and the slash, and you decided to squish them together and go with the dash.
That's how all hyperlinks should be. I mean, come on.
Just
honestly,
everything, just dash.
What if it was Twitch
Morse
dash
code
and then channel name? Because then you get rid of the .tv and then the
Just
slash.
saying, we're making innovations
the
here.
.tv is important for international law reasons.
Oh, gosh.
But I like the idea.
We're making waves here, Joshi. We're making
We're
waves.
making waves.
Doesn't matter if
When
you
we
need
make
to be
our
a
own
part of this.
internet with Twitch Dash RafaCast and Twitch Dash Mazelcast,
Yep.
that's when it's going to be really taking off.
Yep.
But make no mistake, we do have Team Liquid and Cloud9 over on the Academy stream. That is going to be the last game of the day. And make no mistake, that is 100% intentional, right? You got some of the best teams going up against each other right at the very end. Team Liquid versus 100 Thieves. This is going to be the banger that we get to see tomorrow. And it's the preview of what we've had for the several Proving Grounds finals in a row.
Yeah, it's going to be so exciting. If you want any up-to-date information on any of the games happening or anything happening in any developmental words, follow at LCS for more updates. If you want to have any of our content, if you want to make fun of us, if you want to talk to us, just add us on at LCS. It's been really fun, and all the love we've gotten has been so appreciated. So thank you all so much. But now, we got to get down to it, guys. It's time. It's game time. It's time for the first match of the day. It is FlyQuest Academy versus Immortals. Thank you. Immortals Progressive Academy. And first up, foremost, I think there's a lot to be said for both these teams. We were talking about the hunt for 6th and trying to find out how these teams really make it there. But you're looking at these rosters and you're trying to figure out how these pieces come together. You're talking about that communication, the brain for Immortals Progressive, but as well, that FlyQuest roster, Joshi. They've been putting it together. I've been really excited to see how Diamond has kind of been trying to pull the team together with UG at the helm.
Yeah, and we have to remember that both these teams did better than their seeds going into the last Proving Grounds, right? Immortals was our 5th seed going into Spring Proving Grounds, and FlyQuest was our 8th seed, and they ended up getting 4th and 5th, respectively. It was a very tight matchup between them, actually, that determined the standings there, but both these teams had a much deeper run than their seeds would have initially implied.
Yeah, and so let's actually go ahead and take a look at some of those games from the last PG and get to see a little bit more of what we got when both these two teams did make it to that postseason, Rafa. And especially when you're looking at the matchups here, do you have anything, especially from last split, that changes in your mind?
I think Spyrex had one of his best series ever in this, and even though he eventually did lose against Immortals Academy alongside FlyQuest in Game 5, I think many of the questions that we were asking about Spyrex in Spring were answered when he showed a lot of proactivity, particularly on this Ahri game in game number 2, and I think he made a run back with the Ahri in Game 3, and that's when Immortals were like, all right, you can't have this pick anymore. That's enough. Like we gotta shut down Spyrex's one chance of being able to have agency in this game.
And it's definitely a spot where we have a lot of returning players, too, from both these rosters, right? Chad, Pretty, Joey are going to be coming back, and we also have UG, Spyrex, Tomo, and Diamond also returning. So a lot of players are going to be coming back. They have to be remembering what they actually did in this best of 5 that we saw previously in Spring. And now it's jockeying for seeding, right? It's the opportunity to have that easier path in order to get that top 4 berth. And I feel as though both of these teams really need to find an opportunity to turn their seasons around.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me. But also, it's like, who steps up in these kinds of moments? Who do you really think is that player to keep an eye out going into this series, and especially like, who is the one that's about to show out, Rafa, in your eyes?
Well, so me and Josh have been having a conversation about players that we think that haven't been pulling their weight as much. Tomo, I think, is one of them for FlyQuest, and I know that he, in previous interviews, has talked about, I feel like I've been lacking on my play, and I know I can play better than this, and it's just, not able to explain sometimes what happens in the moment, but I know that at least yesterday in their series against Dignitas, pretty nice 2-0.
Yeah.
Played really well. If he returns to that form, then FlyQuest is going to look very promising in this series against Immortals Academy.
So I guess the next question for me to Joshi would be, do you feel any of that veteran presence really being a big factor in this late of a season, especially looking ahead to PG for both these teams?
I would hope it would be, right? That's the big thing that we're going to be looking at, because I feel as though Arrow and Tomo have been making a lot of the same mistakes so far from the rest of the season, right? They've been getting caught out. They've been getting isolated in fights way more than most of their compatriots. And for players that have the relative veterancy, obviously Arrow has a much longer career than Tomo, but this is something that we feel should be kind of brushed up upon. We shouldn't be seeing this kind of thing. This is the kind of play that we would be expecting from some of our younger players, like perhaps Jan or Spawn, who have only been playing for a little while, but Spawn had an opportunity to play in LCS. People keep asking, why is Jan not having an opportunity to play at the next level as well? But this is the spot where we're looking at Arrow went to Worlds in 2015. Tomo was doing so well with FlyQuest Academy that they played the second half of LCS a year ago, right? Like, these are the players that we are asking, what happened, guys? Can we continue to have a bit more of that performances that showcase why we wanted to pick you up in the first place?
Well, hey, we got to look at Tomo first and foremost then, Rafa, and kind of pick apart a little bit more of what we expect to see, what we want to see from this guy, and what we have seen from him.
Yeah.
Is it a bit of an anti-montage? Let's be real.
It is.
I usually like to be the wholesome person, so it's hard to always sometimes look at the facts, but
yeah, I'm the bad cop. Don't worry.
luckily, bad cops here.
I still love both of these players as people, wonderful people. But yeah, the positioning mistakes and disrespecting certain moments where being caught out in side lanes or not acknowledging proper threat assessment when going into fights, stepping too far forward, not taking into account, okay, do I have both of my sums up? You know, do I have Gale Force active? How do I outplay these situations? And it seemed, whether it's just like a moment of, just...
It's autopilot.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Right. Right. You watched that last clip that we had. I don't know if it's possible to get that up again, Producer Katie, but that would be wonderful if we could see that last one. You see that Tomo is actually just standing still, right? He's not even looking at his character. Maybe he's window shopping, maybe he's looking somewhere else, but the point is, right, this is not an isolated incident. We are seeing that these players are kind of getting caught out. They're standing too far forward. And this happens in one of two situations as a player. One, you're on autopilot and you're not really thinking about where your opponents can be. Two, you are so desperate to make a play that you are going to stand forward on the idea that you are going to bait them and outplay them. Now, I believe, from what I know from Arrow might be doing a little bit more of the latter, but Tomo's a much more mild-mannered player, right? He's never been somebody to make all of these big plays. And this is the kind of thing where it makes me wonder if we can build the systems back up, because this was not a problem that Tomo had in spring. This was not a problem that Tomo had last year.
Yeah, there's a reason why he's been around. There's a reason why there's a veterancy conversation around him, and it's very interesting to see. And we got to continue this conversation about Arrow and look at some of the things that we want to, dissect about him as well, Joshi.
Yeah, and Arrow's another player, right, that we should have high expectations for as a player, right? Again, played in KT roster, consistently top 2, top 3 performances while he was in the LCK, while he was playing, I think it was even OGN back in the day, right? He's had such a long career. And since he came to North America, he's been doing okay. He and Joey are actually doing quite well in the lanes, but the lead that they built for themselves, the number of games we had in the midseason where Arrow and Joey had 2, 3, 4 kills or more on the Callista, on the Draven, were simply undone because of movement like this, right? You actually saw he Gale Force towards leader at the end of that fight. He's trying to get these weird outplays. He's trying to find situations where he can go forward, when what we really need is we just need somebody who can stand back and do their job in a lot of these team fights, right? Lacking object permanence, because Soul just teleported there. You know where he is.
I just wonder, especially getting to see the communication level between him and Joey when we were doing the Immortals a day in the life thing. It was so interesting to see that level of synergy in terms of out of league communication, but you've got to wonder how they're working and processing through in-game communication, right?
Yeah.
And especially how Arrow is working around with all that experience around Joey.
Yeah, I feel like, it was a bit of a meme, but the way that Joey said it, there's some truth behind it, right? He's like, I have a picture of all of my 80 carries that I have on my monitor. I just look at them for a couple of minutes before every practice. But this is KT Arrow, right? This is when he was in his prime. We're trying to get him back there. And so this is where the veterancy starts to kick in. Normally, we look at players like Diamond, right, who has been kind of this coach figure, kind of a father figure. That's a bit far. But, definitely somebody that you always look to as somebody who can help direct the team in order to move them around the map, make sure you don't pick up bad habits. Arrow is supposed to be that player here for Immortals.
Yeah, I just wonder if there's anything that clicks going into PG, or especially in these last couple series here for that bottom duo. But we're talking about the duo of Joey and Arrow, but we also got to talk about the other piece of the puzzle for Tomo and look at Diamond, because a lot of the split we've talked, and the memes I feel like we've hit it so many times, it maybe too many times, but like the bot lane with cheat codes, that just feels like we've lost a lot of that here, especially throughout the entire end of the season, Rafa.
I will say I think FlyQuest have done a better job of managing that patch by Diamond saying, okay, well, if we're not winning lane, I'm going with Yuji, man. Like, Yuji and I are going to take over the map. And you can see that because Diamond has been a believer, like a strong believer in Yuji ever since he came over, and has constantly praised him in interviews that we've had with him. Like, dude, like, he got Challenger 5 different servers all while playing, playing from Mongolia on, more than 100 ping. Like, of course, I'm going to put everything that I can to help prop this guy up. And a lot of the games where FlyQuest are having massive disadvantages in the bot lane, it's salvaged through the top side of the map because Diamond says, all right, Yuji, this is how we're going to play the map. Boom, 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 boom. We're going to take over the top side. Yeah. Regain that leverage back for the game.
And you know that Diamond, he also, I guess both of them actually were part of that Cloud9 Academy roster. That was the most dominant Academy roster we had ever seen. And, until Team Liquid came along and 100 Thieves were challenging them, right? But both these players were part of some of the best Academy rosters we've seen. They are looking to try and get back there. And I feel as though Diamond, he's fighting, right? We consistently see that he's trying to move the pieces around. And in a couple of their recent games, Kumo and Tomo in particular have overperformed our expectations. Kumo has suddenly really feeling himself ever since he had the Gnar game where I did a couple of sus things. He's had so much more success. Right? There's been something about the way that he's thinking about the game that has helped them find these big plays a lot more. And that's what we're hoping to continue seeing from FlyQuest as they try and defend their 6th place spot.
So I guess I want to dive into that a little bit more, though, because I want to see, we've put a big spotlight on the bottom lane, and now you're talking about Kumo a little bit more. But Yuji, obviously, big piece to like making all that work. Do you see them putting a little bit more eggs into the top lane basket? Do you see them maybe letting this Tomo Diamond bottom lane be its own kind of amalgamation down there? Or do you think we'll get that actual focus towards this bottom?
That's a tough one.
Yeah. You see so many of the current bottom lane meta duos being so strong, like it feels like a waste to not put some resources back into it. I mean, you have things like Kalista Renata lanes, or any form of Kalista lanes, Lucian lanes as well. If a Seraphine comes by as well, you can't just necessarily leave the Seraphine on an island, because if she yes, she can do with little resources, but that doesn't just mean abandon ship. Yeah, Seraphine's gonna be fine protecting herself down, a lonesome. There still needs to be some leverage being pointed up from the bottom side of the map. Dragon control is still, a win condition that many of these teams use to put pressure on the enemy opponent. It doesn't completely make sense to just completely leave it to the wayside. You still want to play through the bottom side of the map.
And Chad isn't necessarily the kind of player who goes towards topside very often, right? Vital, he talked about it in his interview a little bit. He thinks he needs to work on his laning in order to catch up to some of the other top laners. But it's also a position where I'm kind of expecting this top lane to kind of be an island, right? Vital and Kumo have not necessarily been key to their team's winning chances so far. And while we do have opportunities for them to play really big, we've seen huge performances from both Vital and Kumo. Those have been the exception rather than the rule. And so if you're looking at the players that kind of need to step up, Pretty has been consistently playing well, but not necessarily being a full carry. And Spirek at the same time, he has games where he looks like a genius, like a savant, and then you have other games where you kind of forget that he's always playing. And so it's the inconsistency that we're kind of seeing from both of these rosters that is preventing them from, I think, moving towards the top 4. I know, Mark, you and I were talking a little bit about whether or not FlyQuest should be a top 4 team, and I asked, well, which team are they better than?
That's a tough question to answer.
I couldn't solidly give an answer, right? And it's like, damn, like sometimes they can beat Dignitas, sometimes they can beat CLG, but
sometimes,
but it's not a guarantee.
When they're all on all cylinders, both these teams can take games off like the top 3, the top 4. But that's the thing, right? They need to
Yeah.
consistently be able to get everybody on the same page. We had the meme earlier of talking about like Cowrie, right? You won't like him when he's angry. When Cowrie's feeling himself, when he's going forward and making these big plays, he looks brilliant. And I feel a very similar thing about the Immortals and FlyQuest players. We got to get them angry. I don't know what that is. Maybe they need to, get some bad news or something right before the game. Just take it out on their opponents.
Well, we'll see if that actually comes true. Maybe they'll actually take out a little bit of the aggression.
I hope not.
I hope not.
Josh
We're not
suddenly
promoting
realizes
violence.
the gravity of what he said
Yeah,
and takes it back. He's like, no. I
No,
do
hold
not
on,
wish
hold on.
misfortune on these guys.
But I do want to ask, because we talked a lot about like FlyQuest and how they're going to utilize UG, but I also want to talk a bit about Chad and how he's going to focus this game, because when you're looking at the competition like FlyQuest, I think it's hard to attack a lot of the lanes. Like we were saying, maybe that vital lane, but we're saying Chad doesn't like to go top that much. So how do we see him kind of play around this Joey Arrow, or even Pretty Carry if we get that Talia eventually one day, Joshi?
Well, I feel as though you're asking about how Chad is going to play around the lanes, and I think the better question is how are the lanes going to be playing around Chad, right? Chad is definitely a player that will go for a gank or two, right? There's a whole meme as will he gank after 3 camps, 5 camps, or 6 camps, but he will gank. But even more than that, I feel like he's kind of evolved in wanting to hover lanes and then use the priority that they could get in order to run into the enemy jungle. And so I'm kind of expecting something where Chad might come down to the bottom lane after 3, 4, 5 camps and just make sure that they get some push and then use that to try and take control of Yuji's side of the jungle. And this is going to be one of the ways that Chad can look really good. He had some good performances on the Poppy yesterday, and giving him something that has a little bit more control, a little bit more direct agency in these fights can definitely help him play.
Well,
Yeah, and I want to jump on the end of that too. I think the distinct difference between how Chad and UG play the map is that even though we know that UG was a solo queue star and is known for some really spicy picks like the Kion and the Zed in the past, he's mostly been playing, like, Wukong is, like, by far his most played champion. And Wukong gives you either facilitating... Yeah, it's a good character. Anyway.
Good character.
Doesn't fit my narrative.
right.
Facilitating the rest of the map and has strong engaged tools that allows him to make the call alongside Diamond, okay, we're going for this play. And it gives him the ability to leverage the rest of the lanes to success. Whereas Chad, his most champions are things like the Rengar, the Viego, the Graves. These are champions that want resources for themselves and rely on laners to be fine. And the only thing that Chad is basically asked to do is giving vision and giving information on where the enemy jungler is so that the lanes can chill out and he can chill out, vibe, farm the rest of his camps, power up until to the first mythic or power spike that really comes into play, and then have a strong presence in skirmishes or fights around the mid game. And I think a lot of the times what happens is that Chad is overestimating or overplaying his hand when he doesn't really have the advantage that he believes he does.
Yeah, well, hey, we'll find out those vibes are fitting right today as Champ Select is ready to go for our first game of the day. So, Rafa, Joshi, take it away.
Bye, Lennon.
I'm taking it.
I was wondering if he was going to make a comeback.
Boom.
I had it all season long. You said the vibes, and I really wanted to say something really cringe like Vibe Toll, but that just doesn't sound good. So I'm not going to say it on broadcast.
You know what? Vital's mom brings good vibe tolls in the chat all the time.
We're just going to pretend neither of us said that and brought it up at all. We're going to move directly on into this draft a little bit because we do have Immortals on the blue side, FlyQuest on the red side. And it's FlyQuest again. They're trying to defend their 6th place spot. Immortals need to win both games off of FlyQuest right here if they want to have a chance to move up and take that 6th place spot so they can skip the actual play-ins. And they feel that the best answer to do that is that Zeri, this champion, kind of solves some of the problems that Arrow has been having. It's a lot harder to catch this character out because of its dash, its ability to get over walls. It's just crazy speed.
Mobility and range is insane for this character. FlyQuest immediately fire back with a little bit of range of their own. Not as much mobility unless you get resets for Tomo. And of course, we talked about it. The most played champions for both of these guys, Chad, Viego being one of them. For Yuji, Wukong. 12 games for Yuji. I think it's 6 games for Chad for the Viego. And Pretty sniping the Ahri gives him the early proactivity and the agency to assist Chad whenever he needs him for those early skirmishes.
Yeah, we have not been seeing a whole lot of Ari coming out of Pretty so far this season, right? While he had plenty of games on it in spring, it's not something that has really been part of his repertoire. But of course, there are so many unique champions that have been played in the mid lane. It's no surprise that we're seeing it come right on back. It's not even his first time playing it. But we see good engage tools already coming out of FlyQuest. This is the first check that you always need to do. Do you have ways to get on top of Zeri? You can't really outrange her. You gotta try and lock her down. Or you can try and kill everybody else. And so FlyQuest, they have the tools to get that first kill, get Tomo that reset, and just kind of line up and get these front to backs going, which I feel giving FlyQuest a very straightforward win condition can only help them.
Now, a couple things that I want FlyQuest Academy to be conscious of as they wind down this composition. One, whenever you have Jinx compositions, you need a strong form of burst coming from somewhere in the team so that it makes it more reliable to get those resets. Because like you said, as soon as you get the first reset, it is very easy for Jinx to be able to clean up targets. They already also have point-and-click lockdown and very easy engage with the Wukong and the Nautilus on top of it. But you also need some sort of peel, because if you have too much of a death ball composition where everyone goes in and you fall behind, it gets very difficult to actually peel for these things.
At that point.
Yeah.
You need ways in order to go forward, and I feel as though giving Yuji and Diamond the agency to do things, the agency to decide when the fights are happening, is definitely playing into the strengths from FlyQuest. And okay, this would be a very cool pick coming through from Spyrex. It's something that he has had a lot of historical success on, and it does get locked in. So we're already seeing FlyQuest saying, all right, Spyrex, you got to have one of those pop-off games right now. A single win knocks out Evil Geniuses, 2 wins knocks out Immortals from the top 6, and FlyQuest, I feel as though this draft is, you know, very comfortable for all of their players. It's definitely something that they are all very ready to play, and it has very straightforward win conditions. You know how to play this composition. You just go in and fight them.
It's also a nice amount of burst. You know, it answers that question and pops it on the checklist for FlyQuest Academy. Now, with Vital locking in this gangplank, global pressure being acquired here for this roster as well, and a strong blind pick. Already they took away some of the more tedious counter picks, such as the Shyvana. It's not available for Kumo, and no Gnar either, because Kumo was the one that banned it out. So now, what does Kumo decide to go with? That's
not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
I was expecting a Yuumi to be coming out of Joey, right? Because it synchronizes so well with what the with what the Zeri wants to do on the map, right? You just make him so difficult to catch, but this gives him a lot of AoE lockdown and a lot of ability to play. But this is one of Kumo's best champions going up into Vital. Kumo, we've never thought of him as an incredible laner, but he took tenacity to Tiles. He absolutely blasted him in the solo lane. But the question then becomes, can Kumo do it to Vital? Answer is probably. Will Kumo then be able to transition that lead to the rest of the map and actually get some successful split pushing going? That's going to be the next step. FlyQuest have built a composition that can do everything they need to. Now they just have to execute on it.
So something that we're going to be keeping a track on is how well can Immortals deal with Kumo during the laning phase. Because if Kumo either pops off during the laning phase or gets ahead of Vital in a decent amount of gold, then Vital can never keep him down. Like, and the nice thing about Gangplank is that he has global pressure and while staying in lane with the Cannon Barrage, but he cannot withstand a Tryndamere that is insanely fed, and that breaks apart Immortals' own team fighting core with, you know, based on this Zeri, this Viego, and this Ahri that wants to look for multiple resets.
Yeah, and we've definitely seen that when Gangplank is going up against this matchup, you tend to see a lot more plated steel caps. You'll sometimes see the Randuins or the Frozen Heart, and then even further, you'll see the Death Stance. And let's be real, if you have Gangplank having to build all these items, it's a little cringe, right? You don't want to have to do that on this champion. You want to be able to do the damage, and so it is kind of relegating Vital in a lot of ways to being this zone control to try and go up against Kumo. And we're putting a lot more pressure on the mid and the AD carry. Both Pretty and Arrow now need to step up, and I don't want to have to do this, but I'm prepared to start doing a getting caught out catch.
All right.
Counter.
Let us take to the rift for game 1 between Immortals Academy and FlyQuest Academy. And for those that didn't catch our pre-show, this one has pretty reasonably large stakes. FlyQuest, 1 game win guarantees that they clinch the top 6 of playoffs, or at least getting past the playing stage for Proving Grounds. Whereas Immortals, if they can win a 2-0, then their top 6 is very likely. it's still alive. Oh, hold up. Joey goes very deep into the back line, and this invade is suddenly not going the way of Immortals. FlyQuest turn things around. One reset for Tomo, and Kumo is popping off as well. Gets the spinning slash out. It's a double for Tomo. What a way to start off the game for FlyQuest.
FlyQuest now poised to take control of the game. We already said they had the tools necessary to try and take this one over, and FlyQuest giving 2 kills over to Tomo, giving him so much extra power in the laning phase. He walks to lane with 2 longswords and boots compared to just the Doran's Blade coming out of Arrow. If Tomo and Diamond are going to be playing with cheat codes, this is the best cheat code you can give them. You just give them an extra 100, 200, 300 gold. That's not how math works. That's like 700 gold just picked up right off the bat.
For Immortals 2, that I think they were clearly not expecting FlyQuest to all be there, so I don't whether this is a fantastic read from FlyQuest or just unlucky coincidence for Immortals.
They're probably
Academy.
all chatted. You know, like, hey, let's just all go fight top river, level 1, let's go.
That's cap.
No, there's no way. I mean, okay, if this was teams where the games didn't matter for standings, I would believe it. But this is still a position where FlyQuest still trying to defend, because they're not only playing against Immortals, they also are trying to defend against Evil Genius's Academy. And as FlyQuest go in, it's going to be a lot of damage. Level 2s.
Now, Arrow is the only one that burned a flash. Joey still has both of his sums. Goes for the Ignite onto Diamond. Arrow still pressing forward, but Diamond gets to walk out alive. Tomo and Diamond now on the back foot. And because Yuji is pathing towards the top side, whereas Chad is pathing towards the bottom side, this is a very dangerous situation now for the next minute.
Yeah, we gave a lot of criticisms to Tomo, but I do want to give him a little bit of praise for that small play there. You saw that as Arrow was threatening to kill Diamond, Tomo moved over to block the shots coming out from Arrow, making sure that there is no way the extra damage was going to be there. But as you called out, Immortals, they have Chad already down here in the bottom side. This should be relatively well known based on the fact that we saw how they were pathing early on. And so FlyQuest, they need to be very careful, because Chad, he's done 4 camps. This is the time that he likes to gank.
Pulling out the vision, guaranteeing and confirming that Yuji is not on the bottom side of the map with all the camps showing up gone for Chad. And Yuji is going to have to find a ways to make best use of this pressure while he's on the top side away, not being able to prevent a dive coming in from Chad. This could be very, very crucial for Arrow and Joey to come back in, but Vital, I don't think he dies from this.
He's not dead, but look at this wave state, Mark. He's he cannot play. He cannot do anything.
Oh, that is
this
brutal.
is a bad matchup. He can't walk up with this, and now that he knows Yuji's around and he has a pink ward down, they can't do a whole lot about it. Vital would have to die to try and crash this, and Chad can't help him.
And right now, oh no, Vital is desperately greeting for the last minion, and he is going to get punished. Yuji waits for the bait, and that is going to be Yuji with another kill on the board for FlyQuest.
The worst of both worlds comes out for Vital now. He has to teleport in order to try and salvage the state, but he gave up the kill. He gave up the wave state. Now Kuma's going to try and reset. No, he ends up sticking around, knowing that he can't get the back off for free right now because Vital does still have the teleport. But overall, a huge win for FlyQuest. We knew this is going to be one of Kumo's better laning top laners, and now he goes in again.
And while the top lane was going on with Vital and Kumo, oh, that's a nice bit of damage. And because Kumo doesn't have teleport, he's going to have to take the long walk back to top lane. But on the bottom side of the map, Tomo and Diamond managed to dodge out on any potential disaster. They caught that last wave, and they were able to get a safe recall in. And so Tomo, as you see already, is not missing out on any CS advantages from Harrow.
True. And it's doing pretty decent thus far, right, for FlyQuest still. And seeing that they are continuing to push things in, we should start expecting them to take away plates from their opponent, but also props to Vital, right? Taking advantage of Kumo being a little bit too aggressive as Kumo tried to jump on top of Vital and then went into the minions, is able to get the crash off, will not be frozen on, and is not at danger of being killed yet again. But FlyQuest, they're trying to contest this dragon.
They want to fight this too. Joey is lined up on the right side of the pit, Chad on the left. Spyrex teleports in. Yuji needs to wait it out and get the perfect spike down. He secures it. Chad goes in first, and then the rest of the Immortals are bailing on the play. Oh no, Immortals. Now, FlyQuest now speeding on ahead. 2,000 gold at 6 minutes, Josh.
Huge lead already coming through, and Chad, he feels pressured, right? They are already in a pretty bad position. They don't necessarily scale better because Trinimir won't be able to build up the damage necessary to threaten Tomo and Spyrax. IMTA are feeling very pressured to try and make plays early on, and Chad just happens to be on the bad end of it. He's the person with a lot of agency. He's the one who has to make it happen.
Oh, and Kumo's not level 6? Oh, that... Wow, this is actually pretty good play from Vital. Wow.
Yeah.
Knowing how to force the advantage, and Kumo is actually on the back foot.
Yeah. I mean, Kumo is 1 minion away from 6, right? And watch this. There it is. Yeah.
Boom.
Suddenly level 6. It was such a narrow window where Vital could actually make that happen. And so props to him for not getting bullied around by Kumo thus far. This is supposed to be a matchup where Kumo is going to be very far ahead. He came into lane with assists. He came into lane, and then Yuji ganked him. Kumo, this is much less than we are supposed to be seeing off this champion.
Pretty might have to ult here if Diamond lands this dredge line, but Chad is shadowing the mid lane as well, so Pretty has some safety to fall back on in case Tomo or Diamond shows up. Gonna go back to the lane, and right now, let's take a look at the state, Josh. Vital holding his own despite the gank from Yuji and putting him slightly behind. Chad is looking for ways to get himself back into the game because he is very far behind in terms of camps, and because Yuji picked up a ton of kills and assists. I think Yuji should be hitting the Divine Sunder, not quite yet, but is very close to hitting that Mythic way ahead of schedule.
Yeah. And you're the jungler, Mark. How are you feeling if you're Chad in this game?
I am so sad.
You're so sad. You know,
guys, the other jungler's
my goal at
beating
this
me.
point is to get you to keep talking. Just, it's okay. Let Arrow do his thing. I don't even know about that, right? Arrow's not having a great game either because he also got put super far behind. Yeah, this is the one where you have to kind of try and flip it, right?
First Herald is coming up in a couple minutes here. Maybe this is the time to flip it, but Kumo says you won't even get a chance to flip it because we're going to force you out.
Not even going to have a chance, yeah. Oh. Okay, good escape from Styrax. He's actually doing a pretty good job as well in the mid lane, right? Maintaining even farm going up against Pretty as Diamond goes in.
And they know that they saw Chad on the top side of the map, so they can go for a little bit of a 2v2 do-si-do. Joey forced to flash. Not quite level 6 yet, so no way to be able to counter-engage that one from FlyQuest. And without flash, Joey is going to be down a crucial engage tool.
And again, not level 6, right? These very small windows being preyed upon in order to try and find advantages or cut losses. Arrow and Joey not having the ultimate coming out from the Amumu means that they aren't able to get a whole lot done. But now Yuji, this is a great play. He's got a lot of camps up. People might think he would leave, but he goes directly top lane, and Kumo's going to dive.
And he knows Chad is not going to be here. All of his camps are gone, and the top side of the map final is left on the island. Kumo starts up the tower dive, has the Undying Rage so that he can go invulnerable, but Vital has distanced himself beautifully with that flash, so FlyQuest call off the play.
And props to Vital, man. He's withstanding his pressure very, very well. This matchup is not supposed to be playable. After giving over those assists and the kills, it's not supposed to be something where you are able to live all of these spots. And it feels as though FlyQuest, Kumo in particular, is trying to overextend, trying to make things happen a little bit too much, maybe not giving Vital the respect he deserves.
You know, if this was solo queue and I'm Vital in this instance, I'm like, guys, I just burned 2 ultimates.
Please.
Please
Let's do something.
But use this information to your advantage in some way. Attack these guys. And FlyQuest say, no, we're going to still camp down onto the bottom lane. Knowing that Joey does not have flash from the skirmish beforehand, FlyQuest making beautiful leverage off of that information. And Arrow is now in a world of hurt. Chad is on the other side of the map. No one is coming to save him. Still has flash to play with. Looking to dash, dodge, and weave. Flashing away. Tomo's taking up the turret. Oh, the cannon barrage! Flash is still available for Tomo, but he's trying to greet it out as much as he can. And somehow he does get away with it. Not even having to burning a single summoner spell.
Oh my gosh, a tilter coming through. Vital, I've been in this spot too, right? Vital is playing so well, and it feels like it does not matter, right? He is doing so well in his lane matchup. He survived multiple ganks. While he did have the one bad wave state, he now gets the ultimate down to try and save the bottom lane. But they still just walk out with a sliver of HP. And props to Tomo. Again, giving him a lot of criticism for his positioning, but those traps were perfect, forcing Arrow to walk up. They weren't able to find the last bit of damage, and the wrong people were tanking. But, like, the range coming through, just barely keep himself alive in that fight. They find themselves with a 3,000 gold lead.
There's a quick little pivot from Tomo. I mean, that's hard to do, to have that presence of mind while trying to walk out of a cannon barrage. And oh god, Kumo says, Vital, you evaded death one too many times. This time, I got your number.
Okay, finally coming through. Joey goes over.
Hex Flash, he has Curse of the Sad Mummy available, gets a 2-man stun, and looks for Spirax. That's 1 kill reset available for Chad. Joey is turned back into glue. Can Chad and Pretty turn the rest of the fight? They're looking for it. They've got another reset, and this is the reset city comp that Immortals were looking to play off of, and just like that, Josh, Immortals fight right back.
And suddenly we have places for Immortals to have places of strength on the map. It's not ridiculous for them to take these fights right on back, right? You don't have all of your players lining up. It's a situation where you just end up getting caught, and even though Joey gets caught to start the fight, he still has the ultimate. They can still lock down all of these members. That's why you pick this as your last pick, to control the battlefield.
One of the few champions that you don't mind being caught on, Josh.
True. You can't blitzcrank hook him. Or you can, but you have to be very far ahead, and that's a third plate already going down for Immortals in the mid lane. Yeah, please no. Oh, no!
You can, but you shouldn't, you know. That's the distinction that we want to make here on the broadcast. As we take a look back at the replay, watch. I think the biggest thing is that FlyQuest not all in position, as you called out before.
Exactly, right? Both Arrow and Tomo not participating in this fight. And as they start attacking Joey, Spirax isn't able to throw down his Shroud. He gets bursted before he has a chance to do any damage. He just comes a little bit too close, not respecting the control that Joey has over the battlefield. And then at the very end, again, great charm coming up from Freddy, catching the Dredge line, preventing Nautilus from getting away, cements them the triple kill. But it all just comes from the fact that Spirax, a little bit too close, not able to participate in the fight.
Meanwhile, during the back half of the play, I believe Yuji did throw down the Rift Herald, giving full plates and first brick over to Tomo. He is online with the Kraken Slayer, almost 2,000 gold ahead of Arrow at the moment. And even though FlyQuest didn't have Tomo at the party near the Dragon Pit, now that Tomo is grouping around with them, I imagine that FlyQuest, they are all saying, okay guys, we are playing off of Yuji and Tomo. Wherever they go, we go.
Yep. You got to make sure you play towards the strong members, and Yuji already coming up towards the top side, clearing out a wave. Remember, Vital did just use his ultimate to clear the previous wave, and now everybody's coming up. There's not a Rift Herald starting the next minute.
I think Immortals just want to catch out any stragglers. They want to get the resets going before FlyQuest have a chance to react. They know that Tomo is still in the mid lane, but Kumo, as you called it out, good dodge, sidesteps the engage from Joey, and he gets out.
And Chad. Yeah, he dodged 2 skill shots, either one of which would have forced his ultimate at the very least, maybe even killed him. So Immortals are trying to play around the players that are strong, right? Pretty and Chad, they're the ones who need to make things happen. And they have good pick tools. If you can get people to face check them, it's great, but Vital,
Can he pull off the Great Escape? That's a flash. It's Kumo with the spinning slash. Here comes another spinning slash of his own. This time it is a Cyclone City. And unfortunately, Vital, the escape antics do not work out this time.
yeah, we're starting to see why this matchup sucks. You know, I want to say that Vital's just getting a little bit too far forward, but you gotta try and make things happen in this matchup. Otherwise, you just end up being useless. And right now, because the kills have started coming through, Vital is gonna start losing out on control of the top side of the map. Kumo's gonna be getting either the Kraken Slayer or probably the Gale Force here rather quickly, so Vital will have even fewer opportunities to try to escape. And as the turret goes down, FlyQuest, you know, they had one hiccup, but they're right back to where they started.
To quote an Academy player, the walls are closing in, Josh.
The walls are closing in. Hauza. I did learn how to spell it, H-A-Z-Z-A. So, you know, Kabi. And who's on the other stream? Is it Eric today?
No, it's Magical.
Magical?
Mr.
All right.
Wielden.
Kabi and Magical. Haza. That's what you got to call him if Harry's having a good day. But So come back into the game, Mark. We are still in a position where FlyQuest, they are trying to get, remember, 1 win knocks out Evil Geniuses from top 6. 2 wins prevents Immortals from catching them. And now, as they start to line up, there's another Dragon coming up in about a minute, and FlyQuest already are starting to take control of the bottom side of the map. We'll have to pay attention to what recalls they get off, and Tomo, he's going to be backing away right now. He doesn't have an entire another item, does he?
Oh, he does.
He does! He has Rune-ins for Dragon 3?
Aaron doesn't even have the first item completed yet. Oh, dude, like, there's just no way that Immortals will compete for the first Dragon, which is why Chad and Vital trying to all in on Kumo and look for some type of play. Even Joey's brought to the party. With 40 seconds left in the Dragon, Immortals want to leverage a topside advantage as fast as possible and create a split situation for FlyQuest. Either, yes, you get the Dragon, but you might lose this tower, or maybe up to 2 towers, seeing how much damage they can put.
Yeah, FlyQuest don't really need to try and contest this, right? They can just play the Dragon.
Oh, Dredge Line does not miss or does not connect. It forces the flash out of Arrow. Death Charge is also available. Joey's in the middle of 2, looking for Diamond and Yuji, but Tomo is unthreatened. Finds a huge rocket for the first reset. Wants to advance forward. Good cannon barrage from Vital slows down the acceleration pace of FlyQuest. Pretty and the rest of Immortals looking for a way to re-engage. Pretty dashes in. Good Spirit Rush uses. Picks off 1. Cannot get a reset, though, for Chad. And I think this is the time where Immortal needs to leave. The Vital doesn't have flash from the fight beforehand. He's left to the wolves, and FlyQuest pick up another.
Okay, FlyQuest, they looked a little confused as to whether or not they wanted to play that fight, but eventually we see Immortals. It didn't even feel like they were overextended, but Kumo finally finding his way into that fight. But at the same time, FlyQuest retained control over the map with his upcoming Dragon. They get themselves a mountain, one of the most valuable individual Dragons you can get, and Joey, the only one who can contest. It would be wild if you stole it, though.
All right, Joey, let's see.
Joey.
Hey, Joey, $50. I'll Venmo you.
$50?
Yeah.
Alright, okay. He just doesn't want it.
Man. Unlucky.
Yeah, what's your cash at, buddy? Anyway. The fact
that's specifically for 100 Thieves, John.
Oh, there you go. But here we go. We can take another look at this fight, and it's a little bit confused. Right, because Diamond, he goes in, but it's a good flash out from Arrow to dodge away from the Dredge line. And then I was a little bit worried here with Joey, right? Because they go in, but this time Spyrex is able to have a bit more impact. He comes in from a different angle. He's not locked down and bursted to start the fight. But this is the most confused part. Like, do we fight? Are we good? Are we leaving? And it takes them a little too long to decide what they want to do, and that's what causes Diamond to go down. But then Immortals, at the same time, they don't recognize what direction they need to move. They need to move up, they need to move away from FlyQuest. And FlyQuest recognized the mistake, and Kumo instantly pounces on it.
And the awkwardness of the geography that they fight in causes detriments to both teams on both ends. As we see some awkward geography, we're on the cross side of the map, and Kuma's leading the charge. Has the Undying Rage. Joey is blinking HP. Death Charge comes in. Still alive, though. And Chad's got a reset on to the Trinimir, looking for Yuji. And it might have been FlyQuest that overextended. Tomo still hasn't gone down. So a good note for FlyQuest that they haven't given up a shutdown on their leading carry at the moment. But this is a situation, Josh, where once again, we're looking at like, hey, FlyQuest, we know you're ahead, but you cannot give Immortals these opportunities to come back in. They have a reset comp that is just as potent as the Jinx one.
Yeah, and remember, it's kind of a death ball, right? You just allow Arrow to kite backwards against all these melee champions. That's not a situation where Immortals are going to be very happy. And so, trying to make this play on to Joey ends up getting Kumo caught. He's going very far forward. He thinks he's seeing these angles. He's trying to overforce them. And so, we need to get FlyQuest to calm down a little bit. Yes, you're winning, but you're not winning that hard.
Good curse of the Sad Money from Joey, but Diamond is able to buffer the Dredge line, gets out of any situation that could have been disastrous for him. Immortals do get a prize off of that mid turret, opens up the map a little bit more, and now they have ways to be able to brute force their way into the top side of the jungle.
Yeah, as the map opens up a little bit, it does allow Pretty and Chad to take a bit more control of the game. Remember, they have 6 kills of 7 between the two of them. But they've been rather quiet. It feels mostly as though FlyQuest are the ones trying to make things happen. They're catching Joey out quite a bit, but Joey's like, yeah, that's my job, right? I'm the one you want to be getting it first.
I want to be hugged, man. just to move with things. Whoa, Spyrax? Whoa! Well. A flash from Pretty and Spirit Rush. Super Mega Death Rocket from Tomo. Optimistic. I like it. Unfortunately, Pretty has already gotten away from the situation.
Yeah, it doesn't cost much, right? It's a pretty short cooldown for the rocket. So FlyQuest is showing that Spyrax does have a little bit left in the tank. While he made one mistake earlier in getting caught by a Mumu, has not made the mistake again since then. And so, as a lot of like jockeying back and forth takes place, it ends up with FlyQuest. They have maintained about this gold lead for most of the game, you know, somewhere between like 2,000 and 4,000. But we get another fight to come up, right? We saw last time that Immortals tried to make a play in the top side about 40-50 seconds before the actual dragon spawned, and that's a beautiful timing. You can try and make something while your opponents are spending too much time getting set up, but now it's so much more difficult. It's the second tier top lane turret that's so much farther back, and they don't even have a wave that'll impact it.
And for Immortals, they are really looking at ways of how long they can stall out the game for Arrow to farm his way back into a reasonable spot where he can deal as much damage and be a potential threat like Tomo currently is, who is on his way to completing his third item.
Oh, hello.
This might be a nice pick. Uh-oh, Vital still has Flash, but I don't think he's getting out of this one alive. Good flash away, but the Super Mega Death Rocket and UG's Nimbus Strike lands true, and that's Vital down.
Flash for Flash, UG ends up committing that in order to get the pick to happen. And it's still 40 seconds left, so Vital will still be able to play in his upcoming fight, but you also see he's got a, you know, sad, I don't want to call it cringe, because it is a good build for him, right? It is what he needs to do, but you don't want to build it if you're gangplank. You're like, man, I don't want this Frozen Heart. I don't want to have to build defensively. I want to be doing damage. Where are my big crit barrels? And they're probably not really going to happen this game. But FlyQuest, they are controlling space, and now, as Immortals try and find a retake onto the site, they're looking at Joey. They're looking at Pretty to try and find some of these picks, try and find those entry frags in order to allow yourself to get on and push FlyQuest out.
It is completely dark here on the bottom side of the jungle. Pretty is the first one to move in, finds a Spyrax, gets some decent vision down. Spyrax links it out. Joey looking for the collapse, bandage toss, not in range. So Spyrax walks away, but that gives Immortals entry at least into the jungle. Hex Flash and FlyQuest, they're respecting the play potential from Immortals, but who is on the loop side? Kumo looking for a flank of his own. Immortals, Josh, have to look for Tomo. If they can shut down Tomo in this fight, it becomes insanely easy for them to navigate the rest of the pit. But it's dropping to 3,000, 2,000. Cannon Barrage. Dragon is reset.
Spyrax in
for the flank. Kumo on the right side. Both of them attacking from both of the pincer maneuvers, and they've already taken out Joey. Curse of the Sat Mummy was used, but it did not amount to anything quite yet. Tomo still down. 25% HP, still has Flash and Cleanse to work with. Usually goes in for the re-engage. Cyclone is great. Vital taking up as much as he can. Thanks to the Frozen Heart, he is a lot tankier than when FlyQuest were expecting, but they secure the Dragon. And now FlyQuest, they just have to back out. They got all that they wanted, and they have a turret to play for in terms of safety.
Yeah, Pretty doing a fantastic job marking Tomo and preventing him from hitting, and now they're trying to make an extra play. Oh, they catch 3!
Oh, and that crit is massive. One person has already left the scene.
Arrow, what? What?
Arrow!
What?
Oh, no!
What the hell was that?
Oh, man. That's tough.
Sorry to my neighbors.
You know, but I will say this: it is super hot in your apartment, Josh. It's like what, 85?
They're probably not in the apartment. Let's be real, but okay. Looking back at this fight, right? FlyQuest, they do a good job at actually separating the fight and creating space, but Tomo has taken so much damage that he can't really re-enter the fight, right? Watch Pretty getting that Q across, and as the re-engage comes through, Tomo has to play so far back in order to not get hit, because he knows if he gets hit by one more ability, if a barrel catches him, suddenly that's Chad's way back in, that's Pretty's way back into the fight. But as FlyQuest back away, this is the discipline that I was looking for in their previous fight near the red buff. They back away, they do a good job leaving, and while IMT, they try and force a play here, they catch multiple people trying to back. Arrow's the only one who can make this play. He's the only one who can go over the wall. Nobody else can follow him.
I think this, oh, we're back into it. No time to reminisce on that one. Immortals get caught out as they are entering into the choke point of the Barren River. No one goes down from the play, but multiple people lose a lot of health on the back end.
Yeah. Ultimately, though, They end up not losing a whole lot, but as the Baron does get started up, they do this rather quickly. They do it fairly healthily, and Joey's not here.
Pretty is forced to teleport in. They need a way to get into the pit. Chad still has the Heartbreaker. If he can get vision on it, 2600. Cannon Barrage lights up the Baron like a Christmas tree. They get vision, and the rest of FlyQuest have to back away. But they have turned tail onto the backside. Isolated Chad, isolated Vital. Pretty cannot get in. Joey finally arrives back to the party after recalling and being able to re-heal. Lows for the bandage toss, but Spyrax dodges out on all of it with a beautiful time. Zonia's now Pretty forced to flash. I don't know if he has another Spirit Rush charge available. Looks like he is left out to dry, and FlyQuest, they are surging ahead in this game, Josh. The Baron was not taken, but they have taken multiple people down off of the Immortals. They can just go back, rinse, and repeat.
Yeah, we didn't get to see the beginning of all of that, but as FlyQuest return towards the Baron, Arrow can try and take this over. He doesn't have the ultimate, but he still has so much damage from range.
Needs to get in. Looking for W cooldowns as well. The crits, FlyQuest still have a smite available. They should be able to clinch this one out. Baron is secured, and the rest of Immortals do not dare to approach.
And ultimately, we just see the damage check coming through, right? Jinx is going to be winning the auto attack trades against Arrow every single time. Good recognition from Tomo, and there's nothing that they could really do. But as we go back to the start of this, Yuji takes so much damage that this actually ends up becoming a potentially winning fight for Immortals, right? Vital is able to find the kill onto Diamond and then try and keep Tomo out. And he takes a lot longer to die until Spyrax shows up. But because FlyQuest are so far ahead, they are still able to make all these plays. And as the bandage toss comes through, I actually don't know how Spyrax gets the Zonia's off, to be entirely real, right? He got stunned by the first Amumu Q, but must have been able to buffer it.
You know how he got it off?
Ah.
He's spamming that Zonia's hourglass button. He's like, please, for
please.
Like the one frame in between bandage toss and Curse of Sad Mummy, maybe I can get it off. And then, you know,
it feels like a buffered input, right? That's the kind of thing where he was locked out of an animation, like during a shuriken flip, and just comes out immediately. That's the kind of thing that I'm expecting Spyrax to be trying to make happen. But now Immortals on the back foot. Unfortunately, Joey, he's had a couple of opportunities to be this big player for Immortals, but ultimately, the players that they were playing around, Pretty and Chad, no longer strong enough to really stand up. They really have to rely on FlyQuest making a couple of mistakes.
Yeah.
And remember, Evil Geniuses Academy, I don't know if they're watching right now, but their hopes are rapidly getting dashed at making the top 6. They are almost definitely, at this point, going to be playing in the bottom 4, playing against the amateur teams coming into Purple Grounds. Nice
one
plans.
last attempt, Joey. Nicely done. But unfortunately, there's no damage follow-up to get onto Tomo. Tomo burns both of his summoner spells, but he still has the rest of FlyQuest peeling for him, playing and trusting in his ability to carry the rest of the fight. Yes, Chad gets the reset, but the only reset king you need to look for is Tomo, as he just picks up and sweeps the rest of Immortals Academy off of their feet, back into the bin, back into the fountain. That's the ace for FlyQuest, and that is game 1.
And there we go, and while we started the day off being very critical of how Tomo has been playing so far this season, he's been looking great today so far. There are a couple spots where we can nitpick, but if we get this version of Tomo for the rest of this season until Proving Grounds, as we start playing up against all the amateur teams, this FlyQuest team can do a lot better than their seed would imply.
The movement and the respect for threats coming his way was much better evaluated than we have seen throughout the summer split from Tomo. And I think if we call back to one of the only interviews that we actually had from him, he knows that his play was lacking in that he just wasn't always having the greatest presence of mind. But I think in this game, I would even say to a degree there's cases where FlyQuest were unsure if they can move forward, and it was because Tomo was unwilling to go forward. He was probably saying, I don't want to play forward.
I can't.
Please, no, let's I have a huge shutdown on me, and Tomo respecting the hell out of Immortals' ability to come back and look for resets, which, you know, to their credit, they did a couple times. But in the end, FlyQuest, they play the more patient game, they wait out the mistakes from Immortals, and they take game 1. This does ensure that FlyQuest will now be able to play through the top 6, bypassing the play-in stage. But we still got one more game between FlyQuest and Immortals Academy, so after this break, we'll be resuming that series.